Okay, I think I might be up to this. My back has recovered to the point that I think I can do this. If you see this video, I guess you'll know if I died standing and sitting back down as much as it takes me to make an episode. And you know what? Screw making the video on one of the worst figures of the year. I haven't even managed to get anything from 2025 yet because all the stores around me are dead zones right now, and that streak was already broken anyways. Besides, there was going to be a period of time where I was going to be like the guy who got the scoop on this figure, and now that time is probably past. So I shouldn't let this get any more stale than it already is. So this year, the first review will be on something that's pretty okay. But is it for the price? It's the import from Japan Commander Class Transformers 1 Optimus Prime. That has got to be one of the longest names for any figure I've ever covered. But first, your likes! Please give and maybe subscribe. Okay, let me get the really bad visual stuff out of the way first. The proportions on this thing are capital F fucked. The fists should come up to the low part of his hips. They're down past his knees. Dude has Slenderman dimensions. But the interesting thing is that despite the fact that this is definitely leggier than even Earthrise Optimus, it doesn't feel as bad. Yes, there is still something deeply off when you look at it, but it doesn't feel as one-sided here. The arms being so freak long is a part of it, but so is the bulk of the upper body. His mass feels evenly distributed, despite the fact that his legs are longer than a fusion of Jack Skellington and Jessica Rabbit, because they are so thin and stretched, while his torso is so squat and huge. This may, in fact, be the single most jacked Optimus Prime ever released. You could layer like 3 of his heads in his biceps, and he even has like a 15 protein shakes a day mode, where they get even bigger. However, that does bring me to another problem with this thing. The shoulders. I don't know what they've done here, but despite the fact that they raise over his collarbone, they just look slumped. Depressimus Prime. But outside that, I do have to hand it to this thing. This is by far the best looking version of Transformers 1 Optimus Prime or Orion Pax that they've released. The Prime Changer 1 was obviously intended to be cheap, even if it is remarkably good for what it is, and the Studio Series doesn't even hold a candle to that thing. Thanks to the plastic colors, that figure looks like it started to rot before we ever got a hold of it. But here, the colors are vibrant, the blue more so than the red, and there is a slightly lifeless quality to it still. But not the same way that the SS Corpsimus Prime looked. And the gray is very plain, but I will take that any day of the week over the foul colors of the other one, which looks like I spilled Pepsi on him, then never bothered cleaning off the figure. This thing doesn't seem to have a ton of paint, though what is there seems to be really well done. But I'd say that the main draw of this guy is probably not the way it looks. However, before I get into the actual thing that may motivate you to buy this figure, I do want to pay attention to the quality control. It's not great. The hips are on well-functioning ratchets, but the rest of the joints, especially the shoulders, feel really weak and are barely able to hold a pose. The backpack comes untabbed at the slightest provocation, and with that down, the rest of the figure wants to start falling apart. It's annoying. You'd think a figure this price would fix that. Like, come on guys, this still isn't the size of the Power of the Prime's leader class, who was almost half the cost of this thing. You have some plastic budget left to work with here. Give this thing some serious tabs. And a casual mention to the look of the shoulders. Rotating them forwards has got to be one of the weirdest things I've ever seen a figure do. Is it just me, or does that make him instantly look dated, like a toy from the 50s? Speaking of, what may be the deciding factor in whether or not you want this is the amount of gimmicks they managed to pack into it. This feels like a toy of old. From back before figures needing to have the 4 goals: looking great, posing great, transforming great, and having a great alt mode. No, this is from when they wanted figures to do stuff because stuff is cool. First up, shoulder stacks swivel like they do in the movie. And this may in fact be the most satisfying thing this guy does. They just snap into place with such a satisfying click. It's all the sensation of stepping on the crunchy leaf, but in your fingertips. They're blast effect compatible, so you can recreate that one scene from that one time. You know the one. It's in my eye! Yeah, this doesn't really seem fair. Then he's got like the full Matrix gimmick. The double door opening to probably the best Matrix we've gotten in a while. That is way easier to pull out than normal thanks to some tabs on the sides that you were able to grip onto. This actually feels like it light pipes and not like it's just made out of clear plastic because they were lazy. Then it also has the other shoulder cannon gimmick by pressing up on these tabs. I'm not quite sure why this one exists. The other ones are the things that he actually had in the movie. These are also really satisfying to flip out, but really annoying to put back. Because the guns don't want to lock in at all, they just kind of constantly want to spring back out, so you have to hold them in at the same time as you try to close the door through your own fingers. Doable, but not the pure satisfaction the rest of the figure has made me expect. And lastly for the gimmicks, the head. Yes, the head. This is a pretty solid rendition of the masked up mug from the movie. It feels perhaps a bit more impersonable, but you know me, that's not a problem. I always prefer it when they give Optimus the mask face, which is weird because they didn't this time. Nah, I'm just kidding. They gave it a face-swapping gimmick. A horrible one where I need fingers about as small as a 2-year-old's to get in there and spin that around. Seriously, why couldn't they just design the head to open slightly further? This is ridiculous. There's nothing stopping it from hinging more other than it just doesn't wanna. And then when you finally manage to get this flipped around, that's not quite right. This definitely looks more accurate, but man, is this in the uncanny valley. Something is just off. What, did Fans Toys design this head? And then his third face is a cryptid if you just stop spinning it halfway through. So despite his arms being freak long and his legs even longer to the point where his torso comes like halfway up his shin, this still looks pretty great. Like I said, this is the best of the Transformers 1 versions of this dude, and it's probably about as leggy as Megatron, so they look about as good as each other. But this dude is bigger, and obviously by caveman logic, that means he's better. His quality control leaves a lot to be desired, and some of the joints are just odd, but the star of the show is just all of the extra bullshit this thing can do, and it's a good amount. It's not like Armada, more gimmicks than plastic, but there are a fair few fun things to do with this guy that may or may not involve multiple springs. And man, they do just click so nicely. But then we move on to the accessories. He gets his axe and his matrix. This is still not the best version of this. The honor of best axe goes to the Prime Changer, with its paint and its cool molded-in hand. This, again, is like $90. Why does this still only cover like half of the hand? You couldn't seriously put a door on this. The haft and head come off together from the handle, though, and that's kind of cool. If you attach this to like another peg, you get a normal handled axe out of it. And, like I said earlier, the matrix is very good. I don't like the golden handles. I think it looks less dynamic like this, but it does look much better than the other recent versions of this, and it's a lot bigger, meaning that this guy doesn't look stupid when he holds it. And it works with Optimuses of smaller sizes too. Plus, he holds this great. So, he is a bit accessory light for a commander class, even if he's kind of maybe not technically actually one. And while the axe is kind of lame, just fat and bulky, he does manage to come with the first matrix in a very long time that I'm actually happy to have. This is not another one for the cereal bowl, it's one worth keeping. Then there is the Posability. You can fake tilting the head up a bit, but it doesn't really want to go, nor does it look great, and then rotating it tries to unpeg the backpack. Hot Rod shoulders pull a good bit more than a 90, but if you untab the backpack, then unpeg the shoulders, you can reduce the negative look of that, as well as get even more range up. Elbows pull a 90, Mafia elbows, and this may be the last time that you see this before they get a new member. Wrist swiv with opening and closing hands and sword-wielding wrists. You can fake a decent ab crunch that's in the right place for one, so it's not just doing the job of the hips, and it even doubles as a back crunch. Hips are unimpeded back and to the side, and he can do the can-can over his head. Normal 90 knees, and feet with a slight rocker and toe down, and a full heel down. So the head sucks, and the Hot Rod shoulders are always kind of unfortunate, but these are almost the least unfortunate you can make them, and the rest is pretty great. Elbows and knees could be better, but the hands, waist, and legs all rock. As for the transformation, it's not great. The torso is pretty clashy with parts scraping against the chest in a ball-tightening kind of way that you are worried will leave marks, and all of that winds up feeling very hollow and unsure of itself. And the legs really aren't better. They do some of the worst feeling combiner warsing I've ever had the displeasure of handling, and they have a propensity to get my hands caught in them and chewed up. But the end result is definitely the best alt mode he's gotten so far again. You can still do his shoulder gun gimmick, but unfortunately mine is a bit mismanufactured, and the one in his left shoulder looks a bit like it keeps thinking about grandma naked. I can get this to stick sometimes, but not consistently and not for long. But yours will likely not have this issue. Another weird thing about this guy is that he seems to be set up to take a trailer. There's even a distinct part of the transformation where you flip out a hitch. The 86 Optimus's trailer fits this okay, but it looks a bit slim for this design, and it seems like this guy's truck bed isn't quite tall enough, so it does sag towards the hitch. Plus, the slot is rectangular, like it was designed for something specific. But I guess there is at least something that works with this, even if he doesn't come with his own trailer. It rolls pretty decently, and it looks great. It is basically the spitting image of the alt mode from the movie, with way fewer flaws and gaps than the other two. With, get this, no visible arms. Amazing! Who would have thought that an Optimus is capable of this? He's also got a decent number of weapon ports for those who care, and this is the rare Optimus who doesn't look like he's got a diaper on the back. However, I have one question to answer. Is this a commander class? I don't think it is. That's not to say that this is bad at all, but there's nothing about this that feels like a commander class. It's not big enough to be among the giant commanders, and it's not complex enough to be one of the small commanders. What this feels like is a leader class, like the old definition of leader class. Something that was absolutely huge for a normal character that had a lot of gimmicks because they could fit it. This feels more like the Power of the Prime's digivolving Optimus than it does the 86 one, or the Kingdom Rodimus, or the Siege Skyfire. It just doesn't have that punch-you-in-the-face wow factor of the commander classes. It's really cool and really fun, but I don't see this as being an $80 to $90 figure. It's a leader. It's a good leader, and it's definitely the best version of this Optimus we've gotten, but it's not a commander. And I don't know that I can call this a micro masterpiece either. Those proportions are whack, and the quality is not up to it. But it's still a great figure that you will probably love, especially if you can get it on sale. It's also a little weird. And before we go, let's thank a channel backer. And this time it's Yo Scourge with Magic Square Light of Peace. There's kind of no arguing with the modern definitive Optimus design, the one used as literally the posing model for the Skybound comic. Very probably the most posable figure of all time. Not the most posable Transformer, the most posable figure. With breathtaking accuracy, though the basic colors version doesn't look the best thanks to the plastic they chose, but the updated colors one looks way better. And Optimus has always been just like one of the coolest designs ever, so by default this is just going to be top tier. So thanks to all of my amazing backers who help keep this channel alive. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.